Our next guest expects high oil prices this quarter and then maybe a turn for the better as the year draws to a close. He's John Kilduff, founding partner and oil analyst of Again Capital. John, welcome. Good to have you here.
Good evening.
We've seen turmoil in the Middle East this past week. We have concerns about China's slowing economy. Those things ultimately might push oil in opposite directions. Higher in the case of Middle East turmoil, lower in the case of a Chinese economy. So what am I to think?
Well, and you've got the horns of the dilemma really right there before you. And I think what's very frustrating for U.S. consumers is, as Sharon Epperson referenced, the high level of inventories here in the United States and the absolute shale boom that we're seeing, so much so that we're pushing African barrels that used to come here out to Asia, out to that very soft market that you referenced. So my thesis is that we are nearing a tipping point where the supply situation will, in fact, overwhelm the worries of the Middle East and other concerns that have been out there. But it's not here yet, and it's down the road. But I can see a future, maybe towards the end of the year, beginning of next, where that's the new paradigm. That's the new dynamic for the oil market.
But in the near term, this situation in Egypt, what could it do to supplies and, the supplies going through the Suez Canal and all of that? I mean, how worried should we be about that, and what could it mean for prices?
More so than we otherwise would, because we've had outages persisting now in Libya. The Arab Spring hasn't gone away. It hasn't turned into an Arab summer or fall, as we're seeing in Egypt, as we're seeing in Libya and Iraq, for that matter. There was a significant bombing on Tuesday in Baghdad that reminds us that production there is very much hanging in the balance. So that security premium that we've talked about so much over the years, very much holding up the price in the 90s towards 100, whereas otherwise just on the pure fundamentals, particularly with our eye on China, it should be much lower, in the low 80s, maybe 70s.
Let's talk about two particular types of oil product or basically petroleum product that are very important to us. Number one is gasoline, and what your forecast is this quarter and as we move toward the end of the year for the price of gas, and then also for natural gas, which is the main heating fuel in so much of the country.
Right. Well, since we're in the heart of the driving season right now, this is the big day. This is where we turn the corner, and peak gasoline demand is here right now. But I think we've paid the high price point for gasoline. Despite what crude oil is doing right now in its volatility, gasoline's coming down. We're seeing more and more refiners come online. There was a major amount of European refinery maintenance that was undertaken. They're coming back online. A big refinery in Indiana, Whiting, Indiana, BP poured billions of dollars into this thing. It's coming back online. They're finally going to see relief in the Midwest. And similarly, too, this cheap shale oil that's been coming out of the ground all over the place, it's getting out to the coast via rail, to California, to New York, New Jersey refining centers down south. These barrels are being liberated via rail to the tune of about 1 million barrels a day by the end of the year. So those prices are coming down. I see a national average of as low as $2.75, maybe $2.50 if we're lucky come the fall.
A lot of drivers be happy about that. What about nat gas?
We're not going to see the low price that we saw last year. The shift away from coal to natural gas is sticking, and as we saw last winter, we had an abundance of natural gas, so much so we didn't know where we were going to put it at one point. But just a normal winter really chewed through those inventories and got them down low.
Real quickly, what's the wild card in your forecast?
The wild card in my forecast has to be still the Middle East. If we lose the Iraqi production, if Libya turns back into a full-on civil war, very, very high oil prices will be here with us again, $120 a barrel.
Ouch.
Yeah.
John Kilduff, thanks very much. Have a great 4th.
You too.
Appreciate you being with us.